Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at this Cub Cadet XT2. Customer brought it in just for a simple tune-up, but as we pulled it in, I can tell it's running extremely rough. This has the MTD branded Powermore engine that's fuel injected on it. And I've got a code reader that I purchased 8 or 9 months ago that I haven't had a chance to use yet. So we're going to hook that up, see if it throws any codes, and go through the full diagnostics and repair if you're having the same or a similar issue on your Cub Cadet XT2 or any kind of engine that's fuel injected that's the MTD Powermore branded one. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. I'll first show you exactly how this thing's running. I'm not going to run it for too long. I've got all the doors shut this morning. It's extremely early. And as soon as I had the door open a little bit ago here, bugs came in just a ridiculous amount real quick. Going to try to keep that closed until a little later this morning. I've got the seat switch hooked up, bypassed just for testing so I can show you. Just sounds weak and labored is what it sounds like. I'll get the hood off and we'll get a little closer view. Fire it up one more time. Again, definitely doesn't sound great. I've only done one thing to this, and that was I've checked both cylinders to make sure it's firing on both cylinders, and it is not. It's actually only running on one cylinder. Can't remember which right now, but you do that by unplugging the spark plugs. You'll unplug one at a time, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to pull it out, and I put a different spark plug in it and hold it against the block, just so it doesn't do any damage to the coil while you're doing the testing. And you can take the plug that's in there out and do this. And you can also hold it against the side and see if you're getting spark on each side while you have it out, if you'd like to do that. But this one here, it runs fine on the opposite cylinder. I was hoping I remembered which one it was. I'm doing that same thing over here where I've got it unplugged, and I'm going to plug this one back in. Let's see what we get here. Absolutely nothing. That means that this cylinder either isn't getting spark, or it isn't getting fuel, or it has no compression. There's something going on this side. Again, we can test and see if this thing has spark pretty easily by holding it against the block while we're cranking it. You want to insulate yourself if you're doing that. Not wanting to start now for some reason. And I get no spark whatsoever on this side. Either that ignition coil's bad or it's getting grounded out somehow. Let's try. Usually when I have issues like this, people always ask me what would the spark checker have shown. Let's see what it does show. Zero spark, it's showing a solid red as it would with nothing. Normally that's going to mean that that coil is bad. If there's a ground wire issue or something, it'll normally flash red with that spark checker. No spark on this side obviously is a reason this side is not working. If you were getting spark but it still wasn't firing, you'd want to open the valve cover and inspect the valve train on an engine like this. that's going to be the other cause if the other cylinder's running. If it's just labored and kind of sounding like this, the air filter, sometimes, especially on these fuel injected ones, can be the cause of some running issues pretty badly. This one is pretty dirty, it looks like. We're going to take the top off so we can expose everything up underneath and we can see exactly what's going on with this coil and why it's running like that. If each of your sides are both running independently, so if you unplug one spark plug on both sides, one at a time, and both of them run okay, then we're going to be looking at something else. Either it's a fuel quality issue or a fuel supply issue. There's one hose here that needs to come off. Fuel quality or supply is probably one of the biggest ones. There is a fuel filter that is in the fuel tank. That one you actually, I believe, have to buy the whole fuel tank. From the last one I worked on that had an issue like that, you can remove and clean it also. Got 10 millimeter nuts, a couple of them up front. And then we've got 4 on the top. And this whole cover is going to come straight up and off. Out to the side. Now we've kind of exposed the whole underside of the engine. So we've got our ignition coil here. It's got a trigger pickup on this side that actually controls when both sides spark, I believe is how it works. There is a little sign of maybe some kind of furry friend under here. That or it's just gathered a bunch of stuff, but normally it doesn't gather. But I don't see any chewed wires. It's got a bunch of that under there. So I would suspect that some kind of mouse or chipmunk or something similar was living under here at one point. At least it didn't chew any of the wires. That's good. We'll get all that blown out. Fuel quality, if you know the fuel quality and the fuel supply is good, you can always take off your line here where it comes into the fuel injector. If you're getting good supply when the key's turned on, it should just shoot out of there like crazy. Then you know that that fuel pump's working good, that the fuel filter is not plugged. And if it's a good quality fuel, that's great. You can also take out the injector and you can test it, make sure that it works properly. It actually just has one screw here that holds it in, and this whole assembly will pull out. There's just an O-ring at the bottom that it attaches into this throttle body assembly. And you can put that into a jar and turn the key on, and it'll show you what the spray is. I'll actually do that real quick. This takes a T25 to remove the screw holding it in and the little clip. Leave the clips all built into that. And now we can pull this up and out. Boy, some of that. Look at all the amount of dirt that's trapped down in there. And that was already in there before I removed this. Probably be better to blow that off a little bit better before we get started. Blow all that off. Okay, now we've got it out, and all we really need to do is if you turn this backwards into a jar, it'll start to spray when you turn the key on. We can make sure it doesn't start accidentally by unplugging the spark plug wires. I'm not going to mess with that. See that good fuel spray? See if we can get it started again here. Does actually look a little bit weak. Try one more time. Seems like our battery's not at optimal voltage. If the battery's not fully charged, it's not going to give you a good flow. Seemed like a pretty good flow there for just a second. Right at the beginning, and I'm sure it adjusts based on whether it starts or not. Probably gives a good flow to begin with. Make sure that that O-ring is in good shape. Set it back down on there. Let's check and see what kind of codes we're getting here. From everything I find, this is what I'm going to be hooking up to. Let's get our code reader out. Tiny scan code reader. This is model TS-140. Comes with instruction manual. And it comes with a bunch of different connections depending on exactly which engine you're going to be connecting it to. Got this all unplugged, ready to do some testing with my tiny scan, and guess what? The connections are not the same, and none of these that come with it are the right connector either. This tiny scan does not appear to hook up anywhere on this engine. I've looked at all the connectors all the way across, both on the engine and on the tractor side, and I don't find anything whatsoever. I do not think this code reader will work on here. I'm going to reach out to my MTD rep and see if he has any insight on exactly how to test these ignition coils and if there is a code reader that actually hooks up here. Just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and try to start it. I've got the wire disconnected over here again. Let's try to start it on this side. Now that we've got the battery hooked back up, at least a jump pack to it, so we're getting a good voltage, whereas before we were getting a little bit low. Wow. There we have it. Now let's try together. I know how much sometimes low voltage can play and wreak big havoc on these. I wanted to see, now that I have the jump pack on it, whether the charging system is actually charging once we start it, because in all reality, the battery voltage should come right up to where it needs to be as soon as we start anyway. I'm going to start it and then I'm going to take the jump pack off and see if our charging system is working. It's right back down to 12.6 and slowly dropping after we charged it just for a second. Either this battery is actually bad and it's showing good, or there's an issue with the ground or some other sort of connection issue causing this. It shows good voltage, but let's see what happens when we actually put a load test on it. I always like to just take the negative off. anytime I do a load test, so I know I'm isolating the battery. It's showing good voltage right here, a little over 12, like it was with the analog or with the tester. Showing extremely weak though. It's under 200 cold cranking amps when I put the load test on it. This battery is definitely bad. It's not good. That could be the entire cause of this not having the voltage and the capacity it needed to run those ignition coils and get a good spark. This battery is, it says March of 2020 on here, so it is 5 years old. We're going to replace the battery and see what happens. Now that we've got good battery voltage, let's check the fuel supply or the fuel spray from the injector again. No change, so that is how it's supposed to be. It is supposed to start off with a good flow and weaken a little bit right after that. I'm sure because it doesn't start. This actually has water in it too at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. There is some water at the bottom of that fuel mixed in with the debris. There was a little bit of debris in there at first, but definitely wasn't any water in it. I want to address a fuel issue on this also. Drain that out and start with some fresh before the customer gets this back. Even though it is just a tune-up, found a couple different issues here. I wanted to point out you can't actually see the fuel filter if you look right in the fill tube here for the fuel. All the way back in there, that black thing we're seeing, kind of brownish black, all the way at the back, that is the fuel filter. So I went ahead and removed all of the debris from the tank, all of that fuel from the tank. I didn't flush everything out, but it shouldn't be but a quick second before all the fuel in that line is gone. Just a quick rundown of this V-twin engine. This one does have a mechanical governor that comes out of the side of the engine to control engine speed, so that's great. Oxygen sensor down at the bottom. Just a connection here that goes to the oxygen sensor, a few connections up top. We've obviously got our fuel line coming in to the injector and wiring going to it. And then we have a throttle body assembly. This is all sold as one piece. You can't even get the injector, or at least last time I looked, you can't, separately. Same thing with the fuel pump and filter. You have to buy the whole tank assembly. There's a couple wires up here. One goes to this is either a throttle position sensor or a trigger, whatever you'd like to call it. There is no magnet on the flywheel though. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. Some insight from anybody who understands it a little better than I do may be great. But then you've got two ignition coils. They've each got a plug of 4 wires that goes to them. You've got a ground here. Make sure that that is hooked up and it's not corroded. It's nice and tight. Same thing on the other side with the ignition coil. Just got those 4 wires going to it. And then the only thing that comes from the stator on this version is just your charging system, 2 wires. Got a solenoid right on the side of the starter. And then you've got your regulator here on the side. There's really not a whole lot to these engines, but I'm unsure exactly how all this works. You've got two harnesses coming up from the top to the main assembly, to the main push button start. Two wires going to the fuel pump. Again, that push button start. The weird part is it only has two wires coming off the back and then one other harness that splits off into these two. I would assume the two bigger ones are for the main power. And then we've got a couple over here that go down into the harness and connect to all of your controls up top. Those other two there just go to all the safeties and everything down below. They do not hook up anywhere else to the engine. As you see here, it's the two that go to the PTO clutch that come off the bottom. So it's a very simple engine design. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information out there about it. I do like that it has the mechanical governor. That's way better than the other one that does not have a mechanical governor and just runs off of whatever the stator's telling it to do. At least with this one, it has a little bit different controls on it and an actual oxygen sensor, which can change fuel mixture very quickly and efficiently. Wasn't exactly the repair I was looking for. I feel like I've said that about 12 times in the last 15 videos. All of the videos that I do, I have an idea of what's wrong or think that I may know the issue. That's why I'm doing the video, right? But I do not plan out any of it. I don't go through the whole thing first. It is case-by-case basis, step-by-step as I'm diagnosing it myself. I feel like that's a little bit better approach because I help people learn a little better like that. So hopefully this has at least taught you something. Check your battery first, right? Check your cables, your ground wire first. Check all your connections before you start tracing something down to try to figure out what the issue with your coil or the bad running or anything else is on these electronic fuel-injected engines. I was really hoping I was going to get to play a little bit with my expensive toy that's just been sitting around without any use, but apparently this one doesn't have any hookups for that, although I was told that it did when I purchased it. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you have a great day, and please hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the content.